हम एरिया के चाइना टाउन एंटर हो गए हैं।
Have you had the Instacart sauce?
Need anything of the sort? I was
वर्ल्ड के अंदर जाने लगे हैं, अंदर से एक्सप्लोर करें।
This is a side effect of partially stabilizing the negative vascular objectives. So the light out there, the asteroid volume. The final chemical is that it is separating the result
World War II.
Background crowd in diorama scenes. There are 3 sizes of
ये
miniature.
War of Independence की डिपिक्शन है।
And 54 millimeter, the size of all the other Fields of Glory models. There are also very small models known as flats, and they're just that, flat, not 3-dimensional like the others. Each collector is his own.
After the invasion of Normandy in June of 1944, the Allies relentlessly advanced towards the borders of Germany. By early 1945, the Allies stood poised to cross the Rhine into Germany and ultimately destroy the empire that had been promised to last 1,000 years. The fighting was very intense as the Allied armies drove the German troops back town by town, street by street, and even house by house. In the wake of this surrender, some still fought on fiercely, but many
ये चेल्सिया in June of 1815।
In the same report, Canadian troops have entered a German town and are in the process of discussing a ceasefire with the German commander. With all hope of winning or even retreating gone, there is no real option but to surrender. By early May of 1945, the war in Europe was over. Germany and much of Europe lay in ruin, and Hitler was dead.
Germany 1945।
Given the medieval ages, the most prominent structure on the landscape of Europe
ये 16th century में यूरोप।
several generations of the same family designed and constructed editions of the castle, and with that came distinctive changes in architectural styles. Although the original concept of the castle was an easily defended refuge, as the centuries passed, the construction became more an expression of the wealth and harmony in the city.
1861 की सिविल वॉर।
The enchanting value of the castle's diorama is an imaginary map in which there are 12 distinctly different castles.
Oh, and it still shows you, or shows you. I remember
Modern day surroundings, trains rumble by,
that. I'm glad they kept this, because they got rid of some of the 10. Yeah. Some of the, they kept miniature world.
What were they?
Undersea Garden.
I'm pretty sure that it wasn't for any particular reason. About it, for the sake of making the passage.
Britain's lead soldiers।
It's built, didn't kind of know what life expect.
Gulf Air, Iceland Air।
Arrogant.
ये टोटम्स हैं।
Towers on a magic broomstick. This castle, with its towers and turrets, gables and gargoyles, is the culmination of years of painstaking work. The variety of characters, each with his or her own costume,
Santa's workshop।
of the miniature craftsman at his very, very best. Children of all ages have been enjoying it for years. And who hasn't heard of the old woman who lived in a shade? Here, in a cleverly cutaway view, we actually get to see just what she did with all those children. Would you like to make this many beds every morning? Or feed that many children? Well, that's what the old woman is doing in this workshop. It gives us a look at what Santa does the other 364 days of the year. An incredibly detailed miniature. Even the toys they're making, and beautiful miniatures of real toys and dolls. We also get
I smell the blood of an Englishman.
With a beautiful, colorful collection of the best Love Mother Goose nursery rhymes. How many
Old woman lived the show.
There's Jack and Jill, Little Bo Peep with her sheep, and Sullivan and Black. Let me tell you something. Perhaps the most loved fairy tale of all.
Diamond mine.
Snow White. Here, see her waving goodbye. The 7 dwarfs on their way to work. Saying, hi-ho, it's off to work we go. Little does she know that
Dwarf diamond mine.
now can be awakened by the handsome prince. Here we have a privileged look at a section of the dwarf's very old diamond mine.
I smell the blood of an Englishman.
Their own special railway. I told you slowly to the small in the center of the room, we have a larger diorama depicting Jonathan Swift's immortal tale of Gulliver, an unfortunate seaman who was shipwrecked and washed ashore, only to wake up and find himself tied with 1,000 tiny ropes in a land of Lilliput, surrounded by the Lilliputians. You could say that Lilliput was the original miniature world. In this scene, Gulliver may not look too big to us, but the abundant Lilliputians, he's huge.
The entire city
Size of
then,
the
the area
beautiful houses, in comparison
is
to
now
now.
just business
And look how cleverly they tied even his hair to the ground.
residential areas of great volume.
Now we come to the huge diorama of gigantic houses, craftsmanship and miniature creations. The entire scene is inspired by Shakespeare's
The same kind of man is to include one into Hudson's Bay. Lying at rest in the Thames is the Hudson's Bay Company ketch Nonsuch, ready to take on ironworks to trade with the Indians for furs. Foremost English literary figures grew manly. Daniel Defoe, best known today for his Robinson Crusoe stories, was a teenager. And Samuel Pepys, who left such a vast reservoir of information on the happenings of that day, was writing his Pepys diary in London in the 1660s.
With the coronation of Charles II, the title of Lord Protector, which Albert Palmer had bestowed upon himself 10 years before, was obsolete. A more religious, tolerant people, especially in Europe. The king remained.
By today's standards, London was a moderately large city. The entire city then, the area within the old city walls, is now just the business and finance center. Shops, theaters,
कितना प्यारा डाइनिंग सेट है.
Upstairs, each room had a purpose. A library. This particular library holds over 2,000 volumes. The dining room.
Instead,
Throughout Europe, in countries like Norway, Austria, England, Germany. The Autonomous has become objects of fun and fascination for hundreds of hours of fun and games all through
Heartland of the Chicago World's Fair in 1893. Back then, Midway was primarily minstrel shows and dual shows. Only a few rides have been invented. The Ferris wheel varies around with giant swings. The Tilt-A-Whirl with the...
मेरी भी नहीं, घर पे कटी भी लेते हैं.
Was an exception. For a camel, he came upon a narrow stone bridge. On the other side was another knight. Both were seeking to traverse the bridge, but there was only room for one.
Are in Camelot, and I give way to no man.
Since neither would give way, they chose different passage. Once, Julia's legendary prowess in the night formed this.
She was right. I don't regret it. They were good. It was like if 7 Up made a lemon. Shoot me your artist number, I'll give him a call.
ये बेस सेंटर की बैक साइड है और हम अभी डोनट डिलाइट चाह रहे हैं, वो सामने है. मैं यहाँ चिकन डोनट खाने आया हूँ. ये एक अरेबिक प्लेस है.